So, yo, this is the Beat People podcast, episode 48. And I got my folks on here. I got Ken, I got Trovarsi, and I got the Daydream Sound. So let's go around. Ken, how you feeling, man? Oh, no Ken. What happened? All good. What up, TDS?
What's going on? What's going on? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Good to have you on.
Good, good, good.
Oh, I'm getting a message that says Hangouts on air is going away on August 1st. So I guess they got some new streaming stuff. So I guess for future episodes, I'll have to figure that out. Anyway, yeah, it's good to have you on, man.
Yeah. I think I'm all sorted out, man. I think that was me on this end here, but we're good now.
Cool. And then we got Trovarsi. How are you?
So good. I'm great. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. I love your ceiling and those lights. I always say it because it's such a dope backdrop.
Thank you. Never mind the mess of modular behind me.
The mess of modular is never a problem in anyone's book, as far as I know. Ken, what's going on, man?
Oh, how do I do this? There we go. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, what's going on, man? So I'm gonna be in and out during the show because I'm going to my nephew's first birthday party, which Fox, it's his first birthday, and we're really excited because we weren't sure if he was even going to make it to that. So, and we're really happy with the progress he's made. So yeah, man, it's a good day. And
well, birthday wishes from the show, man.
Yeah, it should be good. So I just been kind of I've been working on a lot of sound design stuff for some secret projects that'll be coming out soon, or at least be announced really soon. So I'm super excited about that stuff. I can't wait to tell people what I've been working on for like the last year, because it's really phenomenal stuff.
Yes, indeed.
So I'm just getting like I've been kind of absent from social media and that sort of stuff just because I've been really grinding on getting the final product stuff ready and trying to get that stuff done. But should I dive right into what we were talking about just before the show?
Yeah, actually, so yeah, tell the people what you've been using lately, and
so yeah, I've been just kind of so you had sent me the Strymon Big Sky, and I was kind of toying with that, and I love guitar pedals, and I've been just kind of floating between a couple of different guitar pedals that I wanted to buy recently because I wanted a new reverb pedal primarily. And so the two that were really top of my list is the Big Sky, which I've used a good bit before, but it's a little on the pricey side, and it's also getting a little bit older now. You know, it's been out for a while. The other one that I've had my eye on for a long time is the H9. Now, I've used Space before, but I've never actually had an H9, and I've watched a lot of different things on it, and I kind of dig what it does as far as just being able to use all those different algorithms and that sort of thing. So I really wanted to kind of compare the two, and I've been comparing some other reverb stuff that I've been doing. And then not long ago, Eventide was like, hey, we're releasing the Black Hole and the multi-tap and the micro pitch for iOS. And I was like,
that's dope in itself.
So
to be able to have those effects on iOS, whereas before you'd have to buy $300 unit minimum, $300 unit, even if used.
Yeah, so like my mind started spinning. I was like, well, the H9, if I get the H9, it only has one knob, but then it's pretty easy to switch between which parameters it uses. But it also has the app to control it. So I was like, well, if I get the H9, chances are I'm going to end up using like an iPhone or an iPad mini or my iPad to control a lot of the parameters anyway. So I was like, yo, let me check this out. So I have the ES8 for my modular, which is right here, which is basically it's an audio interface. My wife's hair is going crazy right now. She's trying to mess with me. She got awesome. So the ES8 is basically a modular level audio input that's USB and it's class compliant, which means it'll work with your iOS devices, right? So you can send modular level inputs and outputs through this audio interface that's right in my rack. So today I plugged it up to my phone to see how it would work out. Hold on, I gotta the cables.
I'm very interested in this because I have the ES8
Yeah, so right now it's hard to see with this screen like this, and of course it's reverse because Google decided to take away the proper apps for our Hangout, which is awesome. But anyway, so right there is the multi-tap, and then below that is the black hole, right? And it's running on, this is my iPhone, what is it, the XR, and it's hitting like 49% CPU with both of those running right now. So just to give you guys an example, I'm running the Pittsburgh modular double helix and just sending it through it. And if I let me just do it like this for a second. So this is the dry signal here. And what's cool is when you use AUM will let you host it. So behind the screen here, you can see that's the fader here.
Yep.
Both apps are right there, right up front. So if I close them, let's see if you can see this. So I can close that and close that. So there's my fader. So you can see my input here, and then my two effects are right there. So it's super easy to control. And then you can bring up the effects right inside of the app without having to like switch apps or anything like that, which is really cool. And then of course, I'm just gonna switch through some presets real quick so you hear it.
And are you using the camera connection? Like, can you lift your phone?
Yeah. So it's just a USB camera connection there.
Got it.
And it's got the charging cable on this one. So if I go like this, so you can just switch right through, and then let's say I want to adjust, like the mix is obviously really heavy there, so like I can. It's really dope that I can basically get my my eventide effects. Stop this thing. So I can get the eventide effects without even having to, you know, do anything with the H9, which is crazy to me.
That's really dope.
Because again, the H9.
How much are those effects?
A long time.
How much are those apps?
Oh, the apps are only like $20. I think the apps cost the same price as the algorithms cost if you have an H9. So like if you had an H9 core, right, which is, I think it's like $399, and you were to buy the black hole algorithm for it, that's like $20. And I think the app is about the same price. It's like $19 or something like that.
That's dope.
So if you and keep in mind, like I'm using the ES8 here, but if you have like an audio fuse, complete audio, whatever, like anything that's like a USB class compliant audio interface, any of these would work. So if you've got extra USB audio interfaces laying around, you can just toss them, you know, plug that into your connection.
Or any IK Multimedia one, they got a couple of things out there to use.
The iRig, there's a ton of different USB interfaces and iOS interfaces that are really cheap. Dude, you could use that little Behringer has like a USB cable, and it's like it's got like 2 RCA ins and 2 RCA outs. Like that would even work, you know?
Yeah.
And you just set up the channels like the regular send and return? Like choosing on the audio interface, like what channel you're sending it out, and then choose a channel which you're going to
send. Yeah, like you can run those apps standalone, or in this case, I'm using it in the app called AUM. And AUM is really dope because AUM, you can set up multiple channels. So I could have like, for instance, the ES8 has 4 inputs. I could set all 4 inputs and different effects on it and be running multiple instances and all that kind of thing. And yes, so AUM would handle what your routing is as far as all that good stuff. So, but iOS gives you the access to all of that stuff. And then of course you also have, you know, there's like Altiverb and all that other stuff is on iOS also. So that's very cool. It just, to me, it was kind of a revelation. So my idea now, and I'm going to put myself on blast here because I haven't bought it yet, and people are now going to bid against me, but whatever. Dude, I'm just going to get a 16 gigabyte 6th generation iPod Touch off of eBay and run it like that, and just have it be like dedicated for, you know, reverbs and stuff in my rack like that. Like, you know, like why not? Like you can get those 16 gig iPod Touches for like $75 or so, and then just connect them up to cheap audio interfaces, and boom, you've got like, you know, a really powerful kind of pedal rig set up just like that.
Powerful and sought after, quite frankly. I mean, it's something that people want to use.
Yeah, man. So that's what I've been kind of geeking on in the past couple of days. That and the Wave Razor module is really ridiculous. So I've been pairing the Wave Razor with the Erica Synth's black stereo delay, and I'm kind of gearing up to do. I'm gonna do a video on the black stereo delay real soon, and man, I'm just getting some really fun stuff out of it. The tape mode on it just sounds really musical and fun. So that's kind of what I've been.
Nice. I love their stuff, so I'm looking forward to that video for sure.
The Erica Synth stuff is built really nice and just it has a really nice aesthetic to it. It's not like it's overdone. You know what I mean? It's just like it's kind of sleek, but it looks nice, but it's not like, hey, we're trying to like bombard you with all this ridiculousness on the panel or anything like that. So I kind of dig their stuff.
Yeah.
Do you all know what the Wave Razor? You all heard of the Wave Razor? TDS and Trovarsi? Or you just speaking of
what? Hang up a little bit.
So the Wave Razor?
Does he still have the green colored face on that?
Yeah, he probably does.
I haven't heard much. I haven't actually heard it though. I haven't. So I'd be interested.
Let me see if I can.
So Wave Razor is.
It's by 1010, right?
Yeah. Well, they partnered with Mock. Is it Moke?
Yeah. Yeah, Mock.
Yeah.
Which stands for Media Overkill. And right now my wires are kind of overkill. I'll try to adjust my mic a little bit. So my wires are kind of in the way, but so let's say I do. Let me mute the double helix. I'm just using a Fluxus 1 here. So if I do this, so that's going through the black stereo delay, and I'll make it dry. But what's cool about this thing is you can actually change different algorithms on this thing. So let me and it's all touchscreen on here. Plus you have 2 knobs to adjust.
Nice.
Yeah, so I don't really have a patch set up to really show it off right now. But
yeah, so the thing is though about it, it basically started as a VST, right? And now they've ported it into the guy who made the VST teamed up with 1010 Music to put it into their interface. You know, the interface is familiar. If you see it, you see that it's basically the 1010 familiar interface. And you have this power of this very powerful VST now in a Eurorack module. So I'll show it right here.
Now, question for you. Now, because I have, for example, the 1010, the Bitbox, and I noticed that the layout, they tend to keep their modules the same, so you can swap the firmwares and that. Are you able to do that with this one, or is it just too? Or is it much more complex? So you just cannot. Like what?
This is its own platform. So this is a new platform for it.
Okay.
So it looks like a Bitbox and a Synthbox and all that. It is actually a new platform. So it's like you can't swap firmware with this and a Bitbox or anything like that. This is its own thing. So yeah. So basically, what it is though is let me scoot this thing back so I can sit down and try to look. All right, so here I am. Wow, I didn't even have to try that hard. I already look beautiful. That's beautiful. So, yeah. So essentially, it's 2 oscillators in one. But what's really crazy about it? Okay, so what's really crazy about it is the oscillator waveform, you can slice it up, right? So, and then inside of each slice, you can kind of bend and move the slices however you want. So say you have a sine wave, you could chop it up. Let's say you chop it up 8 times. You can have 8 different fold points inside of that sine wave. And then you could do different things with those fold points. Like they don't have to just be like regular folds. You could sample rate reduce like one aspect of it, or you could make another part like kind of FM'd. You know, you can do all kinds of weird cross modulation. And then of course you can modulate everything. So you can have like 64 slices in it, right? Or drop it down to like 2 slices. And then you could modulate the amount of slices. And there's
wild and deep.
There's like 42 modulation points on it, right? So like 42 concurrent modulation points at a time, right? So you have 20, like on the front panel, you've got 20 modulation points plus 2 audio rate modulation points on there. Then you have another 20 MIDI modulation points, right?
That's
Okay.
so
it's just like, it's literally like the company is media overkill, and the oscillator is seriously overkill. It's like you can just do so much crazy stuff with it, and you kind of like, when I first looked at it, I was like, okay, well, it probably has all these envelopes built in, it probably has the VCAs, but no, it's an oscillator, and it's like all this power is dedicated to the oscillator, so you could just do some really crazy stuff with it. It's not like they like watered it down by trying to do all this other stuff in it. You know what I mean?
And I always like to mention too, this is an oscillator from one of the brains behind the famed, what's the synth king?
Well, he
worked on the project, right?
Taiho Yamada was involved in the Andromeda,
Right. Yeah.
as well. He's actually done a lot of cool synths. So he was involved in that. He was involved in the engine that came to be the Venom. And really, I believe Aaron Higgins as well. So 1010 Music, the guy behind that, he was involved in the Andromeda as well.
Yeah, Andromeda. Yep.
So like, it's cool that they're working together again in that way, you know?
What's cool is that they're working together. That's one thing. But what's cool is that you have so many people now doing Eurorack modules that have done, sought after and famed, now classic synths of all sorts. And it's cool that now there's this sort of different ecosystem that they can tap into and bring really cool things to market in smaller packages. It probably takes less R&D and all of that stuff. I think that's dope.
I think so too.
Yeah, and these guys teaming up together too to bring cool stuff to market is real dope.
Yeah, if you mess with the software for Wave Razor, the software Wave Razor is really it's a unique take on a VST. Like, it doesn't look like other VSTs. It doesn't act like other VSTs. Like, they have this whole like kind of contextual menu because there's so many extra parameters in it. Like, if you look at the Andromeda, it's got like almost too many parameters that you can modulate inside of it. That's kind of how Wave Razor is. And so to battle that, what they did was they did contextual. It's like contextual screens for everything. So if you go to the oscillator, you've got all these knobs dedicated to the oscillator. You go to the envelope, you got all these knobs dedicated to the envelopes, that kind of thing. So it's a really unique kind of thing. And if you stay on that screen right there, Corey. So like, if you see that circular area, that's basically the screen that's on the Eurorack module, and you'll see how there's like lines around it, and those would be like kind of indicating like slice points and that sort of thing. So it just gives you like really interesting power over an oscillator that
otherwise you wouldn't have, really.
Yeah, like, it's a very different sound, because as you start modulating it and doing, weird things like sending FM to the amount of razor slices and that sort of thing, it's a complex oscillator that doesn't sound like other complex oscillators. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't sound like it certainly doesn't sound like a DPO, and it doesn't sound like the E352. It doesn't sound like it has its own sound for sure.
Yeah. Well, dope, man. I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because that Wave Razor, I haven't actually played with Wave Razor the VST, but to see it come to a 1010 box, I definitely want to check it out at some point. But I know you said it is mad deep, so that's one of those ones you got to give a little time to understand all of its routings and understand all of its features and really get the most out of it.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just very it kind of comes at things in a different way, and and
what's it going for, $5.99? It's $5.99. I think I just brought it up on Sweetwater.
I think it comes out in
it was $5.99.
a week or two. I think it's supposed to start shipping. I don't know if it's fully started shipping yet, but I think it's supposed to ship like next week or something. So yeah,
it's coming soon. So let's jump into. I wanted to talk about what last week or the week before last, they announced a new Critter and Guitari Organelle. And I don't know if anybody here has an Organelle, has played the original Organelle, but I always wanted one, and I never got a chance to really put my hands on one. So it's kind of cool that they did some upgrades. So let me pull up the page here. Have anyone on the show used Organelle?
I used them when they first came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when they just released, I guess a couple of years ago, I was looking to buy one, but they're cool. It's expansive like how they did it now, so you could add whatever you want in there, and you can program it. So it's pretty deep.
Yeah, and it's all open source. That's the really cool aspect of it, is that you can run what is it, C Sound on it.
You use pure data.
Pure data.
Yeah, that's right.
Gotcha.
So I see the new stuff that they added to it is, I guess it didn't have a built-in speaker or a built-in microphone. Well, now it does. Built-in speaker, built-in microphones, battery power. It wasn't before. Has MIDI jacks where it wasn't before. It didn't have that stuff before. So it's some cool stuff. And I guess they added obviously some other instrument stuff in there too. So it's more of a portable kind of jam joint now.
Yeah,
I've always enjoyed the sound of it when I hear people playing it. It does have a kind of unique sound, almost toy-like in some instances, but I've seen people do some pretty cool stuff with them.
Right. I've seen them around, but I haven't really had an opportunity to really play, like, test it out. I've seen it at like I think it was Pink, right? The other one?
The piano.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah, they got a few of them, and you know, I've been honestly meaning to grab one of these for a long time, but the Organelle, the original. So I'll probably end up grabbing this one, and especially since it's open source, and there'll probably be a lot of other stuff out there that you could do with it. I'm sure that they're probably going in a direction where they're going to build a library or some sort of repository for getting that stuff, getting new algorithms and stuff for it. It's kind of dope. They made a cool.
Sorry. I was saying that you'll have to bring it to the next jam if you do get it.
Oh yeah, you know I will.
Yeah.
You know I will. I mean, that's what's dope about it too. It's not a bad controller for, like, you know, whatever you want to control. It's got MIDI on the back of it now. So you can use it as a controller. Like I could throw it into my Mutant Brain and control my my Eurorack, my live Eurorack with it. Be dope.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's dope. And it's what is
the other
that?
cool thing is that thing can be like, you know, it can be an effects pedal, like it can be just so many different.
Right. Yeah.
Sampler, you know, all that cool stuff, you know, in that thing. I love the fact that it has the speaker built in now. Like I love that.
Yeah, built-in speakers, and they upgraded the processor. It's got twice as much RAM, and you're right. It can be just about anything because it is open source. So you can have dope delays, dope reverbs, and other instruments all together.
Good, to be honest with you, like I feel like that price point is not crazy. Like considering everything that this thing does, and the fact that it's really built in small quantities, like that price point's actually really dope.
Yep, agree. Totally agree. So yeah. So there's that. I wish I'd actually gotten one back in the day, but this is a good opportunity since they've refreshed it. But okay, I wanna move to something that honestly I kind of saw this thing, some videos on it at Super Booth. Is that screen still? Let me undo my screen. So I saw this other joint. Some videos of it at Super Booth. I didn't think much of it. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, yet another one of those things hitting the market. But now that it's kind of come to market, I'm interested to check it out. And what it is, it's the ALM Busy Circuit's Squid Sample.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has that L in there that is like it shouldn't be there, but yeah. Or as Div Kid calls it, the Lample. And so yeah, I'm interested in it because one thing I like about ALM Busy Circus is they seem to really be fans of classic samplers. You know, they modeled the S950 filter. It's called Mum 8. It's basically the Mum 8 is a model of the Akai S950 filter. And so, you know, they have some affinity for the classic samplers, like somebody else that I know that has an affinity for the classic samplers. So Yeah, what have you all checked that out? Heard anything about the Squid Sample, or what's your thoughts on it?
I think
thought the same thing you did, man.
TDS is not going to even look at it because it's not 5U.
Yeah,
no, man. Well, that's true, but I thought the same thing you did when I saw it. I saw it at Super Booth and I didn't pay attention to it. But what gets me about it is the layout. Like, it's so, like, there's a lot on the front panel. You don't got to dig too much. I like that one knob that you could just get through all your channels. The layout is what grabs me the most.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree.
Yeah, the amount of menu diving you have to do, especially when playing live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a kind of aesthetic to them that's kind of playful. So I kind of dig their whole layout and whatnot. Like, I have a couple of their modules. Right now, what's in the rack? I have a Sig Guts that's in my rack, and I like their stuff, man. It's just, I don't know. It's something about it is kind of quirky, and I dig that. But this thing, it comes at a time where, like, sampling in Eurorack is starting to kind of really come into its own. Like, for a while, sampling in Eurorack was really I felt like it was either people were trying to do something that they shouldn't do in Eurorack, or, you know, with the samples, like trying to be, you know, trying to basically be a hardware groovebox type thing, and it wasn't really working at all, or just like raw sample playback, that kind of stuff. These things look way more interesting to me. I have a feeling that this is going to end up in my rack. I really do.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
You know, so, and the other thing about it is that it's an 8-channel sampler, right? I think that's what it is. 8 independent channels, DC coupled output.
CV with it too, so you can.
Yeah, and it's sample CV. So some of you all that listen to the show, and I know some of you all on the show here probably remember when I had gotten the assimilator. And so the assimilator is much bigger. It's also an 8-channel sampler. And, you know, what's special about the assimilator is that, you know, you could put 8 different samples on one channel and address them with CV. You'll need a gate delay of some sort to do that. But the sound of the assimilator is head and shoulders above a lot of modules out there. And then you have separate control over sample rate and, you know, bit depth and that kind of stuff. So in the manual for it, you can actually dig in and find out, you know, if you know the sample rates of old classic samplers, then you go into the manual of the assimilator, it'll tell you like, hey, setting bit depth and sample rate to this or that will get you a sound similar to this classic sampler, that classic sampler. And but the thing is, that thing is almost $900, $800 or $900, the assimilator. And there were some things that I wanted to do that I couldn't do, but everything that it could do that I liked, the Squid Sample does. Now, obviously, Squid Sample doesn't do everything that the assimilator does, because it doesn't do what is it that it does, Ken? What's the feature that it has? Is it FM sampling? Or is this FM? I can't remember what it is. So obviously, the Squid doesn't do everything that assimilator does, but everything that the Squid does are the things that I like that the assimilator did for less HP and hundreds of dollars less.
With this thing here, it's like you could perform live with this and actually do things manually if you wanted to. Like, I can see myself, I would patch live on the fly with this and I wouldn't be afraid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Agreed.
You could reduce stuff on the fly, you could reverse stuff right there and then, and I don't think you would mess anything up. Like, it's just everything's right there for you, and for the price, like, the more samplers that come into your rack in general is going to be the better, because you can build, you can have like 3 samplers just like you would have oscillators now. And it's getting to that point where you can get different samplers in your rack to fit whatever need you have.
Right. It's true. It's true. And, you know, I know of some Eurorack performers that perform with mostly samplers in there, because, you know, you could kind of take some pre-designated material, and if you get good enough with 1 or 2 of them, or you have one that you're really proficient with, you're not afraid to patch live with and tweak, you know, you can really do some really dope stuff that's specific to your style, your sound.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely dig it.
Me too.
And so it has USB right on the front too. And I imagine, let's see, what's the USB for? They got easy firmware updates from USB, and I'm sure you can probably load samples with it because it doesn't have any other kind of card storage. So you probably
it reads everything off of that USB live. So whatever you put in there is what you get. But it's pretty deep, man.
Yeah, that joint is really dope and seems to pair very well with Pamela's new workout. So that's cool. That's really dope. So yeah, you could do full bank loading, on the fly bank loading and saving to USB. And that's really dope because Trovarsi knows that I go through these things now that I've this year started getting into performing live. I've always kind of been going through these things about I like performing with my Force and my Eurorack, but the Force doesn't do disc streaming just yet. So I have to find ways in Eurorack to be able to keep the set going while, if I need to, I can load a new project into the Force. You know what I mean? And so
then, you got to build in that time before you switch over.
Yeah.
Ongoing conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying things out. What this week or
no doubt.
I didn't know that.
You keep swapping stuff out over there. Like, okay, now I'm not swapping anything out of the Eurorack. I'm just gonna start taking the 404 or the black box or the, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to find that place. So the fact that they have the flexibility on this that you can load and save on the fly is pretty dope. And then it samples CV. So that's the other thing about the way I make music for performance is that I'll have CV or MIDI, whatever the case might be, on a clip on the Force. So then it'll be dope to be able to sample those out of or send those out of CV into something like the sample and be able to pull up that CV on the fly, do either modulation or either be able to patch that to an oscillator, do a new melody from some existing CV. Yeah. So that's pretty, you know what I mean?
That is great.
And I think that thing is what I can't. Let me look at Sweetwater, see what it is.
Something made me think 349. I'm not. Sounds a little bit too low though.
Yeah, I think it may be a little more. ALM and the damn L in the middle of nowhere always messes me up, so I don't know if I'm spelling it right or not. Actually, I guess Sweetwater don't carry. I thought Sweetwater carried them.
I don't even know if it's fully like available yet. From what I
it's not available yet, and I don't see a price point. But yeah, it may be pre-orders or something. But I thought it may be more like $4.99 or something like that. I don't know for sure yet.
That's
yeah,
still
I think so.
Yeah, man. I think what's happening now is like we're getting things that are not like the end all and be all of samplers. Because I like, you know what I mean? Like the samplers that I saw before, they're like, aside from the Morphogene, they're like samplers that solve everything. But this is just like a sampler that's, you know what I mean? You could take it, you could add on to it, and that's better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I definitely dig where it's coming from. And I'll tell you, I was a proponent before of like, yo, I don't want to do no sampling or anything in Eurorack like that. Like I definitely was about that sort of life. Like get out of here with that. But then what I started realizing is it's its own thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a thing that's special unto itself. And that's what makes it dope. Before, because in my mind, I think samplers, I'm thinking specific box, SP12, MPC, machines of the world and those kinds of things. And they have things that they do. But then when you start thinking about samplers and Eurorack, it's a different approach. And it's a different sort of thing when you can start throwing CD into the mix and stuff too. You know what I mean?
CV changes everything. It sounds completely different. You can't do that on a sampler. Like CV just sounds weird.
That's it. This was for real. So that's what I think I dig about that. I definitely could see at some point checking that out. Let's see. Somebody saying the Morphogene I have more thinking, more samples now. Yeah, he said the same thing.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be bothered with it, but now, and Trovarsi could probably attest to this, as we talk about how my thing is changing every other week. Like, what sampler haven't I had at this point? You know what I'm saying?
I'm using the Octatrack right now.
Yeah. And the Octatrack is dope, but and I know TDS is probably you have the Octatrack too, because I think I've seen you do some shows live with it, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I take out live.
Dope.
Unless you know what I mean?
That's dope. So I know Trovarsi is using it in the sense where it's a groove box, but it's more like a DJ mixer too for her.
Right. I run the modular through the Octatrack so I can use some of the effects on there. And then what I do is I'll sample onto a channel and then use one of the scenes to fade over so I can change some patches or whatever and then fade back into like a new patch. So
nice.
Keep it going. So I can keep my set going while I'm changing it.
Nice.
Yeah, I could tell you when I was at your crib last and we did the Mod Bap sessions, and you were showing me about how you use the Octatrack in your live set. That was really tempting because I feel like that kind of functionality is what I would love to have, but I'm trying to use, because I feel like, here's what I feel like about the Octatrack. I feel like about the Octatrack the way I felt about Eurorack before I got into Eurorack.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just feel like, that's a whole thing you got to get into, or you got to, you know what I mean? That's a rabbit hole in itself, that one box.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely been, it's been a process with the Octatrack. I've had it, I think I've had it for at least 2 years, and now I'm finally going to start using it out. Now I'm actually using it in my live setup. But it took a lot of time, like trying different ways to use it and just like getting to know the box. And even now, even though I am using it in my live setup, like I still feel like there's still so much more that I could do with it that I haven't even I haven't scratched the surface with it basically. But for now, like it's powerful. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, no, for what I'm using for right now, it's pretty solid. It's rock solid. And I do like the effects, but I think what I'm going to try to do too is try using some additional effects with what Ken was suggesting.
Oh yeah, the USB,
yes,
the iOS stuff.
Yes, because I have an ES8, and I use it mainly, for recording into like Ableton,
right?
In that, but when I'm out, like, why not now use it for some additional effects?
I will tell you that it is a good time to be into incorporating iOS music making and iOS tools into your music making, because I mean the amount of effects in itself, not even talking about the instruments that's in iOS, but the amount of effects and kind of effects that are available for like $10 or less, at the most $20 or less. You know what I mean? It's just kind of crazy. And then you have tools out there where you combine multiples of those or create your own special channel. You know what I mean? There's like tons of stuff out there. That would definitely add another dimension of variation to your live set, without a doubt.
Right. And just less stuff you have to carry around, now that I'm starting to travel more. I'm going to New York soon and doing a workshop there, and I'm just like, I don't want to be like lugging additional pedals just to add additional effects,
Right, right. No doubt.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing for me. Actually, TDS, I love what you said. Like, yep, I just take the Octatrack and win to say win. That's it. Because for me, it's a constant battle of like what to take and what not to take, and let's try this for this one and let's try this for that one. We did the show at the Troubadour, me and Voltage Controller Shiro. We did the show at Troubadour, and we had our groove boxes plus our 6U Eurorack. But then we get there, and obviously it was a show where it was a lot of opening acts, and then it was us, and we were right next to the billing act, you know what I mean? The act of the night. So we were butted up against his set. And obviously, you know, there's a lot of, when you got 4 opening acts plus us, then the marquee act, there's a lot of setting up and breaking down, and setting up and breaking down. And so we had both our Euro racks, and I got the Force, and he had both the Digis, the Digitac and the Digitone. And so as we were gonna set up, we realized, like, they're like, you get this table, he gets that table. And as the night went on, they were like, scratch that, both of y'all on this table. And I was like, yo, pop your trunk, man. I'm putting my Euro rack case in there. I'm not.
That's what happens. Like, when I first started performing, I wanted to like just bring everything. I used to perform in quad and do all kind of crazy stuff, and then what happens when you get there is what you did mention, but it's like, for me, all I want to do is connect with the crowd, especially with the type of music that we do. The average person doesn't sit down listening to experimental electronic music.
Right.
So you could either go in and go over their heads and have them be like, oh, that's too much for me, or you could connect with them. And for me, if I have one thing in front of me, it's easier for me to make the music make more sense to them, rather than just like stroke my ego and do all this technical stuff and have them staring at me at the end. You know what I mean? So the more simple you keep it on stages, the more you can do what you're there to do. For me, anyway.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And you know what happened that night? We still killed.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? We killed, and it was like, okay, like there was just as many screams as I imagined it would be, and I didn't have all that stuff with me. And I learned a lesson from that. But you know what that does is that makes me put more thought into my set. If I know how much time I have and what I'm doing, it's like, okay, put that much thought into the set and prepare for it so you can connect with the crowd.
Right. And I feel like it tends, like, start bringing a lot of gear, you find yourself managing as opposed to playing and enjoying. Like what you're actually, and then it is hard to connect to the crowd because you're like over here doing this and doing that, and it's just less is more. For sure.
I'm learning that because and you guys probably know, like, for me, my performance history has always been as frontman MC, and now starting to perform again, I'm performing as, you know, the music maker, the person that provides the beat maker, the live beat set and all that stuff, which is more like a DJ set. So it's a different thing to perform that way. And honestly, I start to see now, when I've always thought about people like Q-Tip or Questlove, who DJ as well, and they say, because I DJ, I have a better idea of what people dig and what they don't dig, and what, you know what I mean? Because then you start to pay attention in a different way to the way the crowd moves and how you're connecting. So I think that's really dope. It's definitely informing in a different way how I do a lot of stuff, honestly.
Yeah, you read the crowd. Like it starts, DJing and performing are similar in that way, because you read the crowd. You literally know what they want next and know what they're ready for.
Yeah.
And if you get those two things under control, you got them.
Yeah.
But if you're all in your head and you're not paying attention to them, you're going to do something and they'll literally look at you like, why did you do that?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Why'd you do that?
That's right. It's very true. It's very true. And you have to be able to, you know, read the crowd during and kind of understand who the crowd is before. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that helps. Like, for instance, we did a show, basically the same weekend as the show I was just talking about. The night before there was a show, and that was a totally different crowd. It was an absolutely totally different crowd, without a doubt. It was a more technical, more gear geeky, sort of nerd out sort of crowd. You know what I'm saying? And I did a very similar set to what I did at the hip hop show, but then I had my Euro rack there. And they wanted to be able to see you kind of go between the two and, you know, get real spacey and ethereal, and, you know what I mean? It was that kind of crowd. As a matter of fact, when it was over, somebody yelled out, "That shit was beautiful." You know what I mean? So, like, it helps to kind of be able to read the crowd, like, before and during, really.
It really goes a long way, man.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, yo, I want to get into, we was talking about effects, and this company has been doing a lot of really dope pedals over the last couple of years. And it seems like every time they drop something new, it gets better and it gets better and more interesting and more interesting. So the company is Chase Bliss, and the pedal that I want to talk about is called the Mood pedal. Have you all heard of or checked that out at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's your thoughts on that, man?
I think that's insane. Like, I'm not into pedals. The first thing I thought is if you guys make something like that in 5U, that would be really interesting, or just Eurorack in general. But I mean, I'd love to be a guitar player right now.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, no doubt.
You know, I mean, but the fact that you can use it on your own stuff is just, it's really nice to see that type of thought process, and the fact that the 2 channels, because I didn't get what they were talking about when they said it's 2 channels, but it literally is by 2 different people, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. That they've combined it. They're really thinking almost in a modular way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I really like it.
Yeah, I'd love to see that come to Eurorack. And when I looked at the videos and I look at what they're doing,
can you pull it up?
Yeah, hold on. Let me pull it up right now. So I was talking to Ali the architect, who is one of the Modbat brethren. Hold on, let me see which window it's in. Here we go. And I showed him the video for it. Here it is, Mood pedal. Okay. Yeah, I showed him the video for it, and the video was dope. It gives you some really good ideas of what it could do. I mean, it basically is a sort of like a looper and sort of like a delay, and then you modify it. It's more like a tape, a real tape machine almost. You know what I mean? So you could capture a loop, blur the lines, and apply clock and sort of modulate things and modify it a bit, and things can get just real beautiful real quick. And Ali made me realize, he was like, yo, that's sort of like Morphogene. So in reality, it is kind of like Morphogene and a delay pedal. In a delay pedal. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's really, really dope. I have a couple of sort of, I don't know, I think some of these pedals are getting trendy in the sense that, you know, there's this thing that's happening with effects pedals that was happening in Eurorack, you know, where it's like, this is the popular module for the day, or this is the toast of the town, and it just came out a month ago. Like, Mood is that thing right now. You know what I mean? Everybody's talking about it. You got guitarists that are obviously loving it because they could do their looping and playing on top of it and smear the thing and do something different. But you got keyboardists that are going crazy with it. And I know that there's Eurorack dudes that are starting to use it too. So I kind of dig that those lines are starting to become blurred a bit. And I have Chase Bliss vinyl. Hold on, let me pull this down. Warped vinyl high 5.
Okay.
Yo, this pedal is dope because it does what the title says it does, what the name says it does. Really? Like, you can apply this. It's kind of like, it's basically a vibrato chorus pedal, analog vibrato sort of chorus pedal, but you can apply these parameters just right and really start to make stuff sound like old vinyl and warped vinyl and that whole thing, almost like old tape and stuff. And it's a pretty incredible thing. The things is tone, lag, mix, RPMs, depth, and warp. And so that gives you a little bit of the aesthetic that a company like Chase Bliss is working with. And then I gotta say, I love their packaging too.
Oh, very cool, yeah.
So I use this to hold like stuff that will get lost on your desk. SD cards and adapters and stuff. But yeah. If anybody's out there in the mood for good pedals, Mood, pun intended, is one of those things. I think it's real dope. And that's one of those pedals I probably would get just because I know that at some point in sound design, I'm gonna sit down with, like, you know, Tensor, warped vinyl, and Mood and do something totally crazy that I wouldn't do otherwise. Yeah. It kind of starts to inform the way you create, I think.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You're right. Like the whole pedal thing is getting, I've never looked at pedals. And this is like probably, I would say this year is the first time I've ever started even paying attention to them. So you're right on the trend.
Yeah. Sure. And I mean, and they're getting very creative with how they promote them. And two, so for so many years, what have pedals been? Like more delays, more reverbs, and a gang of distortion and fuzz, and you know what I'm saying? Just the typical effects that have been around forever. And maybe somebody might do something a little different, and maybe they may have a little different tone. But I think what's dope about companies like Chase Bliss and Red Panda, specifically those two,
oh yes,
right? They're creating pedals. I feel like these dudes must be into Eurorack because they're bringing a certain sort of design aesthetic and thought process to pedals that feels more Eurorack-esque in the creative sense, right? Because this mood pedal is a 2-channel granular micro looper / delay. Yeah, that sounds like somebody from Eurorack world.
It does. That's what it made me think of. I'm like, why is this a pedal? That's the first.
Yeah, that's dope. That's one of those things. And they have something new coming out too. It's called the Blooper, and it's basically a looper tape machine kind of thing, but it's different from Mood. And so when I think about the way they advertise them, they've allowed their audience to follow them through the creative process of them building the blooper. So if you watch, I think the guy's name, actually I can't think of the guy's name. It's one of the dudes that does a lot of pedal reviews. And so he has a series on his channel where he's kind of going through the development of the blooper pedal from 1 to 0. So where the episode 1 may have certain features, and episode 2 he'll talk about how that feature was scratched and this feature is added, and they're kind of developing this pedal. And it's an interesting process to go through that entire process and end up 3-4 episodes in, and it's not quite the thing that it started to be. And then about the 3rd episode, they totally redesigned the DSP to do the stuff that they wanted to do. And I guarantee you, when that pedal comes out, it's going to sell out immediately.
Yeah, I think that's what's got to be done now. Like,
yeah,
you have to like, that's the type of thing we want to see, and it lets us know there's not that much explaining you got to do when it comes out, because you can go and see what was done. Really, you know,
smart marketing.
Yeah,
keep you engaged.
That's the word.
All through the whole process.
Very smart marketing, and that also comes from too. That's the kind of stuff that musical acts have to do nowadays, because this is the access. This is the age of information, right? Everybody has more access than we ever had to everything. So yeah, it's pretty dope. But yeah, I'd be interested if anybody out in the chat, if you all end up getting Mood or using Mood, holler at us on another show. Let us know what y'all think about it. Let's see. All right. The Craft Synth. So I have the Craft Synth over here, and I got a few things over here that I gotta catch up on video for. I want to apologize to anybody that's been like a loyal viewer or reader of my YouTube channel or my blog, BboyTech Report, because this year my daughter graduated from high school, and I have not had a moment to breathe. Like when you see me drop stuff on Instagram, that's the moment when I'm able to do that. But dropping something on Instagram is very different than sitting down and doing an actual video review and then going back and doing the editing and maybe writing up something. So I said all that to say this. I have a few things I need to catch up on, and Craft Synth is one of those. Let me show it. Craft Synth 2.0. So it's a tabletop synth.
It's like wavetables, right?
Yeah, wavetable tabletop synth. It's You know, it takes a couple AA batteries, or 3 of them, I believe. And it is by Modal. And actually, I was very surprised at how good it sounds. However, you know, I gotta say that the build quality, it feels very toyish. And I mean,
Really?
this is totally plastic, right?
Mhm.
But so I don't want to disparage it, but the thing is, you know, for a long time, especially if you've been making music for more than 10 years, you come to a thing where it's like build quality this, build quality that, because things were made very different 10, 15, 20 years ago versus the way they're made now, today. This was a Kickstarter thing as well. But I got to tell you, if you judge it on how it feels, I think it's well enough made for it to be made of plastic. The knobs, okay. Where it shines at is the sound. It sounds damn good. And so you got to think about that. Let me just pull something out and just show you where I think this thing, where things start to go, where things can really shine. When you have the 1010 sort of black box or something small like that, and then you have a synth, so you got a sampling workstation, and then you got this synth. Now this is crafted like a champ. It's all metal. Everything, I mean, everything feels great on it. This is not as well crafted, but it's nice. And imagine just taking those, and this that fits in your hand, you could do straight up set. You could go jam, go to the park. You know what I'm saying? This is an incredible time to be a beat maker, a musician, man.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. Like, think about this. Look at this. When could you do this before? This is just crazy. And this thing sounds good.
Yeah, it does.
You have it too? You have it as well?
No, I listened to it, and like, if you listen to any of the demos, the first thing I noticed is that it sounds like something that just will fit in the mix right away. It has this really kind of glassy, slick kind of sound.
Yep.
And like with the analog sound, like with all analog synths, you got to do some work because they take up so much space. This kind of just slides on top of anything.
Oh,
you
nice.
can just hear it. But it really does sound good. And it's wavetable, so you get a lot of textures right away for that small footprint. It's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of textures and just a lot of flexibility in the sound, like the places you can go with it. And it truly is crazy. And I think, let's see.
What's the price on that?
I think like $299 or something.
Okay.
Maybe even $199. Hold on, let me check for sure. Confirm here. Craft Synth. And this is the 2.0 Craft Synth. So the 1.0 Craft Synth was more DIY-ish. I can't say that I was a fan because of the way it looked.
Yeah, it looked like a video game.
Yeah, it really looked like a video game of some sort. And I remember people saying, but it sounds great, but I couldn't get past. I'm like, well, I don't necessarily want that on my desk. Because I am about aesthetics too. You know, you hate to sound like shallow, like, oh, it's all about the looks. Well, you know, you got to be attracted to something first.
Yeah.
Hold on, I don't see it. Let me try to see if I can find it here. Oh, looks more like $150.
Oh wow, good price point.
150 what? Dollars?
Yeah, $150. What I'm looking at says shop now from Reverb, Craft Music, Vintage Kings. Wow. Yeah, $149. Everywhere it is $149. $149. So I mean, there's where the keys are. That's the key. This thing sounds so well, and for $150, I mean, you can't exactly expect it to be put together like this thing, metal chassis, and you know what I'm saying? Where it's this is $599 and it's a powerhouse and it's a metal chassis and it'll you feel like you got something in your hands. Now this is not that. It looks good, but it's definitely, you know, more plasticky, but the idea is that it's $150, and you get you got MIDI in and out, you got sync in and out, line out, headphones, and USB powered or battery powered. And
so it is self-powered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like
for 150, you can't, like, yeah, you can't lose for 150. I didn't know it was that price.
Yeah, you can't lose. This is a winning product right here. So yeah, I definitely I got, like I said, I got a review coming up. Actually put it in some of my music on Instagram, without announcing like, yo, that's that. You know what I'm saying? So probably got more coming up. Yo, what's up, man?
What up, squad?
What's going on, man?
Hey, man.
I'm at the pool. I just wanted to drop in and, say what up to the squad,
Yeah, man. Ali the architect dropped in with shades on and a cool towel. And he living his best life.
I'm out there.
Yeah. Hey, yo, Ali, meet the Daydream Sound, TDS.
What's going on, bro?
TDS,
what's going on, brother?
Ali the architect.
Good to
meet you, yo.
Yeah. So yeah, Ali, what's catching your eye out there, man? Right now, what kind of stuff is catching your eye?
That Bird Kids Raven. I'm looking at that. Am I saying the name right?
I don't know.
It's Bird Kids or something like that. You heard of that?
Nope.
No.
Pull it up. Huh.
Yeah, it's
Bird Kids Raven.
It's
semi-modular Eurorack voice.
Yeah, I've been thinking about trading in my my SV1 for something like that. It's a little bit smaller than the SV1.
Hey, let me pull it up on the screen. Put that
and
up
it sounds real good.
Dope.
The point I'm at is like, yeah,
go ahead.
It looks pretty dope.
Yeah, it does. It's all analog. So you're thinking about trading in your Pittsburgh modular SV1 voice.
Right, because like I don't need the MIDI module on that. I'm just trying to downsize my modules at this point because like a lot of my modules are really, really big. And that's a 48 HP module. And if I could take it down, that gives me a little bit more, playing room.
Nice.
Okay. Yo, I'm about to check that out, yo.
And it sounds really good. Yeah, it sounds real good. Honestly, lately, man, I've really just been trying to learn the modules that I have. I've been doing things like new stuff with Pam's new workout. I've been using it as like a 4 millisecond rotating clock. So what I'm doing is I'm taking one of the out of Pam.
Oh, you broke up a little bit. You using that as a
makes the rows. Yeah, it rotates through the rows if you trigger the run input and put it on the setting. So I've been using that, running that into Morphogene and getting some real cool stuff, running it into the play input on Morphogene. So then you'll get a ×4, and then the next step is ×2, and then it'll be like 8 and ×12 or something like that. You get like real cool rhythmic stuff out of it. I've been trying stuff like that lately, man.
Dope. So it's funny that like what you're talking about doing with that. I'm gonna take this thing down. So what you're talking about doing is I guess a similar aesthetic to what I do with my what's it called? This Pittsburgh Time Runner, because I'm trying to get different rhythmic stuff out of it, and it's dope that you could do that with Pamela's new workout though. And actually, Pamela's new workout is less HP Time Runner too.
Yeah. Another thing I've been doing is the Frap tools for Lee Street. So I've been I'll run an output out of the Pam's new workout into the clock divider on for Lee Street, and then get extra divisions off of that. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Dope. But yeah, man, I gotta hear some of what you've been doing with that stuff lately. We got to jump on Marco Polo so I can check out, like, so you can show me how it's coming along.
Yeah, for sure.
Word.
Yeah, man. I'm just like really just trying to learn these modules that I have, like dig as deep as possible. Like right now, out the gas. You know what I mean? So while I don't have gas, I'm just trying to not be looking at perfect circuit and all of this other stuff that like I usually scour every single day. You know what I mean? So just keeping myself away from it, and then just focusing on what I have now, because you know I just picked up the 2 HP bell and the 2 HP pluck. So like those are my latest pickups, but I really got those to kind of like replace rings, because ring too big for my travel. So when I'm using rings, I'm usually making some plucky sound or some bell type sound. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like I figured if I got to, I could just take the rings out. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I want to mention while I got you, because I'm reading the chat and there's some conversation about MPC Live versus sort of the track. And so what's cool right now is what we have on this panel right now is we have 2 MPC users and 2 Octatrack.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I know that you use MPC Live with your Eurorack, and what do you use to interconnect it? Because the MPC Live doesn't have CV on the back of it. What do you use? Are you using a Mutant Brain or something, or what you using?
Yeah, I'm using the Mutant Brain. So, yep. So I'm running out of the MPC. I run it into my Mutant Brain, and then Mutant Brain runs it to everything. So I'm using it as 4 separate MIDI channels on the Mutant Brain, and then everything under that is pretty much triggers and clock dividers. So I'll run like 4 channels of MIDI triggers. All right, so channel 1, 2, 3, and 4 are like my MIDI, you know what I mean, channels.
Right.
Channel 5, 6, 7, 8 are triggers from MIDI channels 6, 7, and 8. And then 9, 10, 11, 12 are clocks, clock runs, and clock divider, you know, the division of the clock. And then I'm just running that into PAM, into ER101.
Yeah. You're using it very much the same way that I'm using
say
it.
That again?
You're using it very much the same way that I'm using it with my Force. So I got the Mutant Brain, and it's literally set up the same way, where I got clock dividers at the bottom. And I think on output 8, I have it set up as a restart and start so that I can control my sequencer as well inside the rack. So yeah, for anybody out there, especially people in the chat, if you have an MPC Live and you're thinking, yeah, I should dish the MPC Live for Octatrack, if you're used to and comfortable with the MPC Live, you could totally live with that in Eurorack if you have something like a Mutant Brain that you can integrate it with, because that's what Ali does and that's what I do.
I love it, man.
I love it. Yeah, I use it too, but I use it totally different than like how you guys use it. I sequence 2 of my modules on my Digitone with it.
Okay.
You know, so that module is it's
great. It's the way that a lot of people use are able to integrate their groove box of choice with their Eurorack. So you know, well, let me add. Well, now see, that makes me curious now. So TDS, you're more into 5U modules.
Yeah.
They have MIDI to CV. I imagine you're using some sort of MIDI to CV conversion.
Yeah.
On that side too, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You just, for my system is really, really simple. So it's, I got to make the most out of what I have, but to get in there, it's straight MIDI to CV, but I can go straight CV if I want to. And I've actually been thinking, like, if I get something that's good enough, I'll get rid of the MIDI module and just use something that has CV out. But I just don't have anything like that yet.
Yeah. But you know, it's not necessarily that you need to. If you're any way that, for me, any way that you can integrate, that's the way. Like that's the way I look at it. Like I have a ES3 over here. So before I had the mutant brain, I would use the ES3 because I would use my MPC-X, Expert Sleepers ES3. I would use my MPC-X in hybrid mode only, basically, when you know what I'm saying. So I like the idea of having the software and the MPC-X as a controller, and then being able to take a ADAC cable out of my audio interface into my Expert Sleepers ES3, and that's giving me 8 outs of whatever it is. I could throw anything out of that thing into my Eurorack. So I would process audio through my Eurorack and run it back. You know what I mean? So I'm down for any way, whatever it might be, how you can integrate the two together.
Yeah, man, that seems that's the easiest way. Let me ask you guys something. Have you guys gone CV to MIDI? So you're using your Eurorack to control something, like to modulate anything.
I haven't done that, but you can. I
haven't either. You know, I'm kind of staying out of the box at this point. So I would like to try that though, man. That's a good thanks, man. That's a good idea.
Because at that point you get a CV voltage that's doing weird stuff to like your MPC or your synth.
Yeah, that's dope. That's really dope.
Yeah, it's this. That's the only reason why I'd want to bypass MIDI.
How would I do that? Like, okay, how would I get it back? How would I get CV back into my MPC since I don't have those CV inputs or outputs?
Oh, well, it's just like you convert CV, like you can convert CV to MIDI or convert MIDI to CV, right?
Okay, so it's the exact opposite of what Mutant Brain is doing, pretty much.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Word.
And then that's a whole nother world of possibilities at that point. Yeah, that's a dope thing to do. That's dope.
PDS, can I ask you a question? Sorry, off topic, but have you used any of the noise engineering, the 5U?
Oh, I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
The what?
The noise engineering, because your rack is 5U, correct?
Yeah.
Have you tried any of their new modules?
No, my whole system is all .com.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't gotten any new modules as yet. And I don't if I add something, I'll have to take something away. So I'm trying to stay away from adding anything.
No, I get it. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, there's so many things that are coming out for 5U now that I want to try.
Yeah.
But I just can't.
Yeah, because they came out with the Manus at 5U. I have the Manus in Eurorack, and I love that module. So
what's it called? The what?
The Manus. It's spelled MANIS.
All right, I'm gonna look it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, nice. Thank you.
They have two.
Okay.
But the Manus, I think it sounds great.
Yeah, man. Like 5U was kind of like we didn't have anything. We still don't, but now there's like a lot of manufacturers are doing both now. So
yeah, that's exactly what noise engineering.
Let me ask you this: what took you to 5U versus Eurorack?
I didn't know any better at the time. Well, the sound of it really. The first time I heard the oscillators on the .com system, I was like, that's what I want. Because I just wanted I really wanted a traditional analog synth, but at that time, nothing was sounding right to me.
Okay, makes sense.
The first time I heard 5U, it just sounded, not 5U in general, but that particular system. I was like, I'm going with that. And I knew that's all I wanted. So yeah, it works. It's got this kind of weird, aggressive kind of sound to it. But that's pretty much it.
That's dope. And that's probably also why .com systems early on were like one of the most popular systems. Well, also because the market wasn't saturated the way it is today. But at the same time, people swore by their .com systems, man.
Yeah.
And
I thought they were the only manufacturer out there when I bought mine. And now I'm seeing like Core Synth Club, the Knobs, all types of people now. So
yeah.
But even though there's not that many, like you guys get everything.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, why?
That's the gift and the curse, though.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, because what happens is I'm sitting here with a full case, and then I got my live case that I cannibalized my bigger case for. And then when I looked at stuff that I had sitting around, I'm like, oh, well, now I got the full, both of them are just full. And then there's stuff that's always coming out, and I'm curious about, like, that's interesting.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm always moving it around. It's like,
oh, yeah.
It's all Legos, you know?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So, yeah. But you know what? Hey, TDS, what I dig about your system, and this is just from what I know about your system, it could be totally off base, but from what I know about your system, using the 5U and using any variation of classic samplers, it just kind of feels like that's right. I don't know why. It just feels right, that combination of 5U and classic samplers. I think that's fresh. I think that's really fresh.
Yeah, the 1/4 inch, like I never have a problem. I never have to, like, you know, the cables always kind of just add up because with MPC, you can go, it spits out voltage high enough. Not the MPC, sorry, the SP.
The SP, okay.
The voltage that it kicks out of the back, the metronome can clock the .com system. It's high enough. It's up to 5 volts. So you can do things without having to really downsize and all that. So they do work well together.
Dope. That's dope. Okay. Well, yo, let's see what else we got. I think we may have run through all the topics. Oh, one other thing. This is more like on the business news of music tech. Have you all heard that Atom Audio is now owned by Novation?
Yes.
Interesting. What y'all think about that? I mean,
yeah, that's interesting.
I think it's interesting. I think there's sometimes, I think most people that may be gearheads maybe don't care about who owns what. And I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just, it's interesting because I don't view those two in the same place in the same way. Those two companies, you know what I mean? Like, I hold Atom in a very, like, higher than average sort of standard, because they really make some of the best monitors on the market, like, bar none, man. But at the same time, they're starting to make, like, they made their T7V series or whatever it is, their V series, to compete with KRK. And that said to me that they were kind of going for, starting to reach for a little bit of a different market. Because I got to admit, my KRK monitors that I have feel more like DJ club speakers than they do precision listening, mixing sort of monitors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I use mine for. Just
right. That's kind of that.
You know, just, I have them behind me. Yeah, just that's exactly what I use the KRKs for.
Yeah, and even they have what is it, RCA on the back, which okay, right? But so Atom came out with something that was still very Atom, but had a better bass response in them, and I felt like they were targeting you know, that market that the KRKs tend to dominate, right? And so it's interesting to see with them doing that within the last year and now being bought by Novation. It's probably going to be some interesting things to happen from that.
Yeah. I found it weird. Well, when I saw it, what I thought was, it took me back to when, because Atom won that award for the A7Xs that they made. And those were like renowned speakers. And from the moment that happened, looking back at it now, they got to now match that type of sales that they were making. They haven't had anything like that before.
Yeah.
So if I'm a renowned speaker company, there's no more major studios being built. So what do you make? Who are you selling these speakers to?
Yeah, that's right. The market that changes things.
The largest market is the home studio user that's buying small speakers. But how are you going to compete with KRK? How are you going to compete with all these people that are already there? So you partner up with somebody, and the interesting thing is they're all owned by Focusrite.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm thinking, like, everyone's getting smaller and they're teaming up to kind of deal with this industry, because if I really want to, I don't need any speakers. I just need a pair of Beats and an iPad.
Yeah, this is true.
I need none.
Yeah. So now they have to compete with that sort of thing to make them figure out how to make themselves appealing and accessible.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that makes total sense, yo. That's exactly right. That makes total sense. And when you think about it, Focusrite, Novation, they have a hold on that market in that way. Their foot is firmly placed in that market. Not like they're the only ones, but their foot is firm in that market. The bedroom producer, beat maker sort of market.
Right.
You know what I mean? Semi-pro, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually pretty dope. That makes a lot of sense when you put it that way.
And even if you look at Novation too, Launchpad Control, like they're kind of up in that. They're kind of running parallel too.
And imagine that now you'll be able to kind of, you got this product line that spans across now. You got, Focusrite interfaces and whatever controllers and synths and stuff that are coming from Novation, and now you got good set of monitors that you can kind of get into that mix too. Yeah, it's a real dope thing.
It is, man. It's like kind of what Behringer has done with Clark, and who else do they have under their banner?
Yo, they got a lot of folks under their banner.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff that you won't even think about, like who is it? Mode Machines. They hired the dude from Mode Machines, and he's a more obscure company, but at the same time, he's one of those companies that people have loved that have bought like niche sort of things from, like the Sid synth he made, and certain pedals and stuff he was making. He was making Wasp pedals and Juno filter pedals before people started doing it in Eurorack, and now he's with Behringer. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta commend Behringer for that stuff. And to tell you the truth, I don't really care about the ruckus that everybody's keeping up. This man is trying to put dope sense into our hands for reasonable price. I'm with that. You know what I'm saying? So yo, I don't know if let's go around one last time. We're gonna wrap up and end up the show. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Inky, sorry we've been gone for so long. I appreciate you for being such a loyal listener and follower. You rock time 10,000. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. And so yo, let's go around. Anybody got anything they want to say in closing? PBS, how about you?
Yeah, I just have what do I got going on? If anyone's into vintage samplers, I'm here on YouTube at thedaydreamsound.com. What else? There are a line of online
Pause right there. And this is what I wanted to ask you about. You are sort of like the vintage sampler source of information on YouTube.
Oh man, thank you.
I need to ask, what do you think about the SP2400?
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it a lot. Yeah.
No.
There is a difference between the two from the demos I've heard. You can clearly hear a difference, but I don't think it matters one bit.
Right. So it still has something special about it that's coming to market in today where that he's obviously filling a void.
Yeah, like I wouldn't buy an SP1200 now.
Yeah.
I barely wanted to buy it when I bought mine, and like to see that now, it's like after this comes out, there shouldn't be any complaints. Like this is the last piece of the puzzle that's been filled, and I can't see any problem with it.
Yeah, dope. I'm glad to hear you say that, man. But then I haven't heard much blowback about the thing in the first place. You know what I mean? Like it seems like everybody's excited for it. My thing is, I was actually going to pre-order it, but my thing is, I want to see more of how the sequencer work before I drop that down. I don't know, I just want to see a little more of it. Even though knowing that guy, I feel like he's really going to pull it off in a really dope way. I think it's a dope thing myself.
Yeah, man. I don't see any. If there's any, I heard initial complaints, but it was just about, it'll never be an SP. Well, if you can't get an SP, if you find an SP and you're willing to pay for it, those are two different stories. Finding one is a problem now. And the price is it's too much.
Yeah,
and to me, the SP it's not worth the price. that's good right now. You know what I mean? So if you're
Come
getting,
on, man. Think about it. SP's going
It's
for
way too limited.
$3,500, $4,500. Yeah, they like $4,500 now. So if you want to find that and you got $4,500 to drop down on it, but I don't feel like that's going to be most people, because think about how people complained when like Moog 1 came out. What? Right? Like, you know, nobody, when you start getting to certain price points, people automatically shut the TV off.
right.
3,500, 4,000 for a
this is a whole
20-year-old
different thing.
machine.
Yeah, bro. Like, and it's got
Yeah,
all those
it's just not
limitations
worth
that
it.
people ain't ready for.
Right. You could just buy 4 different new sequencers and run them all together at this point now.
Yeah, yeah. And here's the other thing that I think people got to realize, and I'll use this example. I bought ASR 10 a few years back for $150. And I think it was $150. It wasn't more than 200, but I'm pretty certain it was $150. And there's a funny story that goes with that I'll tell later about how I went to the Hollywood Hills and dude was all high in his parents' garage with a bunch of studio gear and his broke ass ASR 10. And so I bought it for like $150. I knew what was wrong with it, and I knew that I could fix the sliders on it for $20 from this company I could get parts from, and I fixed it. And then 2 months later, I bought the SCSI thing to go in it, and I added that in, and I used it for about a year, barely used it because I was like, I just didn't want to go through the trouble of loading up the floppy and all of this kind of stuff. But I used it and explored it and stuff. A year later, I sold it for, I think it was $1,100. So there's an idea. That gives you an idea of what this market is like nowadays. That person bought that thing for $1,100 and complained to me for 2 weeks about how it wouldn't start up, it wouldn't turn on. And you know what the problem is? It's a vintage machine that you got to put the damn floppy in, and so that it can boot up with the OS. He wasn't used to that because he's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, when you think about these vintage machines and the things, it's a whole different process and mentality that you have to go through to use those joints. And most people ain't down for that work.
Right.
So, right. So, I think if you're gonna buy SP1200 for $4,500, you're a very specific niche of a niche of a niche type of dude. But that's $3,500, $4,500. Now you got something that's new, that's more modern, that has a more modern workflow. That's $1,000. So, that should shut that whole conversation down. And if you complain about what it is and what it ain't, then you can just go save up your $4,500 and see if you can find one of them older joints.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? So, yeah. Interesting, man. I'm glad to get a chance to talk to you about that. But yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you as you were rounding up.
Oh yeah, no. There's just that that the channel, and there's also a line of manuals that I'm doing now for vintage instruments. So people who do want to get them, the information is just few and far between on how to get these things up and running and really what to expect. You know, that like you said, that's the biggest thing. Like, it's easy to get hyped up about something that's that old, and when you get it, it's like a slap in the face because it's a different world, you know. So that reality is better than you know, getting your hopes subverted. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's dope, man. I like that. That reminds me of there's another guy, my mind is drawing a blank. He does really dope manuals for some instruments too, alternative manuals. And it really is helpful to the community. I commend you for that, yo. That's a really dope thing. Really, really dope. When you get those done, let me know, man. I'll make sure to do a story, a post on when you get each one of them done on a BboyTech report.
Nice. Appreciate it.
Cool. So, Trovarsi, what you got going on as we close out the show?
Let's see. I'm flying to New York on the 7th, but for 808, I'm doing a workshop and a live performance in Brooklyn. So that should be with modular and just kind of talking about live setups and just the nuances of choosing, you know, what gear works for you and incorporating modular with hardware. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Dope.
Yeah.
Okay, well, cool. Like I said, it's always good to have you on the show. I'm glad we had this dope mix of folks on here. Ken must have scurried off to the 1-year-old's birthday party, so you all know where to find Ken. And Ali, you got anything you want to say in closing? You know, while you kind of laugh at us from the pool and fun and
Yo, August 3rd, I'm gonna be doing a live performance for the modular meetup at Chuck Levin's. If you're in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, go ahead and come out, support us, check us out, have some fun. It's for beginners to advanced. There'll be some other performers there. We'll just be having a good time. You know what I mean?
dope.
And yeah, I hope to be. I think after that, the next thing I'm doing is probably KnobCon. You coming out to KnobCon?
You know.
Yes, for sure.
Yep, we'll be there.
All right, cool.
Yep. So word. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming through. This is episode 48. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. And until next time, peace.
Peace.
Thanks.